Director David Cronenberg's 1986 remake of Vincent Price's 1958 classic, The Fly, will forever be infamous for the prolonged transformation of Jeff Goldblum's Seth Brundle into the half-man, half-insect known as the Brundlefly. However, amid all the vomiting and limb-dropping, Cronenberg and Goldblum splice in a genuine moment of sympathy for their movie monster. The scene in question happens shortly before the Brundlefly loses his final shred of humanity. A nearly fully transformed Seth confesses to his girlfriend Veronica, played with the perfect balance of heartbreak and horror by Gina Davis, that he wants to become the world's first insect politician. His aim? To bring order to the twitchy, chaotic, often vicious bug world. It's an unexpectedly tender moment in a movie that's anything but. Audiences briefly stop covering their eyes, if only to wipe away their tears as Brundle confronts the terrifying truth of his transformation.
Saying I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it. But now the dream is over.
It's proof that a human soul still lurks somewhere within the monster, a point that's hammered home during the film's heartbreaking final moments. In Malignant, horror maestro James Wan puts his own spin on the evil twin trope by hiding his villain in plain sight and making the big bad the dark side of his protagonist's persona. Some viewers might consider the hero and villain of Malignant to be two separate people, Madison Mitchell, played by Annabelle Wallis, and her parasitic twin brother Gabriel, played by Marina Mazeppa respectively. For most of the movie, that's what we're led to believe. As the film progresses, however, we learn that Madison and Gabriel are one and the same, a pair of twins fused together by a problem in the womb. It turns out Gabriel is latched onto Madison's back and determined to create murderous havoc by using her body's backward motion to move around and kill. It's for this reason that Madison experiences the dreamlike visions of Gabriel's murders.
I saw him murdering her in her house. And it was like I was there and here at the same time.
Root for one and you're inevitably rooting for the other. As Wan's modern take on the Edward Mordrake myth unfolds, we realize that in order to beat the baddie, Madison must regain control of her body. As Gabriel's grisly kill count increases, we're cheering for her every step of the way. It's a strange concept to be sure, but Wan admitted that was the appeal. He told ComingSoon.net, "Part of my love for the horror sci-fi genre is you can kind of come up with a really out-there story, and people are more willing to accept it. That's part of the fun for me. I like strange and weird things." The directorial debut of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place star Alice Lowe introduces us to Ruth, a heavily pregnant woman who believes that her unborn baby is telling her to kill people. However, as this slash-happy tale plays out, we learn about the heartbreaking personal trauma that led this mother-to-be to violence. Lowe's film is a darkly comedic comment on the often unseen pressures that accompany childbirth and the roller coaster ride of becoming a mother.
You're insane. I am a working mother.
The inclusion of those elements imbues Ruth with an unexpected, down-to-earth sympathy. This is something Lowe was quick to comment on in interviews surrounding the film's 2017 release. She told Big Issue North that the path to motherhood is not always as romantic as some might expect, and that she intended the film to be an exploration of society's treatment of pregnant mothers. She explained, "When you're pregnant, it's almost like being a werewolf. You've got these hormones coursing through you that give you these special powers. I wanted to get that in the film." The undead duo in the 1994 film Interview with the Vampire, Lestat de Liancourt and Louis Dupont-du-Lac, share the curse of blood-sucking immortality.
Have you said your goodbyes to the light?
However, while Lestat, played by Tom Cruise, revels in his cruelty, Louis, played by Brad Pitt, is haunted by a lingering human conscience. He dedicates his never-ending lifespan to gaining a better understanding of what he now is. Despite being a pale, cat-eyed creature of the night, Louis' quest for meaning is undeniably human, and it's one that viewers can relate to. From the death of his sadistic but beloved adopted daughter, Claudia, played by Kirsten Dunst, to the painful discovery that there may be no answer to the question he spent his afterlife trying to solve, Louis' journey is not without its share of tragedy. To make matters worse, an inescapable sense of guilt travels with him all the way, like the ghost of the mortal life he left behind. In an interview with Sci-Fi Now commemorating the film's 25th anniversary, director Neil Jordan explained, "Louis was half human and half vampire, but he never quite lost his human element and perspective. That's what I liked about it, and that's what I tried to do the movie about." Recent years have seen an uptick in horror movies centering on mental health, with a specific focus on the ways in which society treats the most vulnerable. These themes take the spotlight in director Rose Glass's stark seaside horror film, Saint Maud. In this bleak tale, we follow Morfydd Clark's lonely and damaged heroine, a palliative care nurse sent to provide end-of-life care to a terminally ill patient. However, it's not long before we discover that Maud has her own demons that can't be easily cured. As her fascination with the power of God gives way to hallucinations and her own spiraling mental health, Maud slips through society's cracks and falls tragically out of reach.
I'm so sorry. I was unkind to you. You made me think of things I didn't want to.
Ultimately, her misguided choices make her the villain of the film. But make no mistake, we're rooting for a savior to rescue Maud every step of the way. In an interview with Big Issue North, Clark elaborated on Maud's heartbreaking character arc. I think it's Maud's compassion that leads her to madness. It's just too much. I think Maud's desperately trying to do the right thing, and that's what any of us are trying to do. Unfortunately, Maud deviates massively and gets it terribly wrong, whilst trying harder and harder to be good. That's the tragedy of it. Gory, hook-handed killings aside, audiences end up rooting for the modern-day urban myth known as the Candyman thanks to his tragic past, which contains harrowing echoes of modern-day social strife. Legend has it that a savage lynch mob created the Candyman, hanging a black artist after he impregnated a wealthy white woman. Now, anytime that someone utters the Candyman's name 5 times in front of a mirror, he returns to seek vengeance.
Ellen Lau was out here looking for Candyman. You ask me, I say she found him.
The character's painful history ends up imbuing Candyman with not only a lasting cultural resonance, but also traces of an eerie, doomed romance.
You are not content with the stories, so I was obliged to come.
It's no coincidence that the majority of the Candyman's female summoners end up in a blood-soaked relationship with the killer that borders on the romantic, at least when the character's razor-sharp hook isn't at work. During a 2021 interview with Dread Central, Tony Todd described his iconic villain as a misunderstood character searching for love. Todd went on to compare Candyman to another tragically romantic movie monster, the Phantom of the Opera, saying that the Candyman is a gothic figure. He added that Rose and his co-star Virginia Madsen used that fact as inspiration, saying, "We reinforced that by doing gothic arts. We did horseback riding, we did fencing, we did ballroom dancing. We wanted every time that her and I were in the same frame to see centuries of passion between us, centuries of regret, centuries of loss." 2020's blood-soaked take on the body swap comedy sees bullied high schooler Millie Kessler, played by Katherine Newton, exchange minds with an escaped serial killer, the Blissfield Butcher, played by Vince Vaughn. While knife-dodging hilarity and a hefty kill count quickly ensue, this slasher switcheroo inadvertently had us rooting for the movie's baddie.
Have you ever seen me dressed like that? I mean, I kind of like a lot of what he's doing with it, but it's the point is that you've never seen me dressed like that, right?
Vaughn's unflappable improv abilities instill any scene with a loose, laugh-a-minute energy. Mix that with the star's perfect embodiment of a self-conscious teenager, and you'll quickly forget that we're actually being guided through director Christopher Landon's killer comedy by the very guy we're supposed to be afraid of. Vaughn seemed to have a great time exploring Millie's dramatic adolescent world. He told Digital Spy, "You build it out like any character. It was so well written in the script as far as the home life and the challenges that she faces, and I think everyone can identify with being that age, learning who you are, not having all the confidence and all that kind of stuff." As a reverse exorcist dedicated to ridding haunted houses of their human problem, Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice is essentially the villain of director Tim Burton's cult classic. That said, it's the movie's namesake star who makes the cinematic threat so irresistibly watchable. Like the shark in Jaws or Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight, Keaton's Ghost with the Most may have limited screen time, but it's what Keaton does with it that counts. From Beetlejuice's explosive entrance to Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's recently deceased couple realizing that they've made a terrible mistake by summoning him, we're instantly hooked on this dusty and dangerously funny undead dude. In an interview with AFI, Burton confessed his initial skepticism about the film. He went on to comment on how the weirdness of Beetlejuice is what makes the movie work. "I worked with a lot of characters that were very good at improv. When you're on the set and you get into a character and become it, boy, there's an energy to that. It helped the script. It helped shape it a lot, and each day it felt like we were making this weird, experimental kind of thing." Compared to the Alien series Xenomorph, the Predator has always been the more sympathetic villain. Sure, it's an intergalactic space hunter that enjoys violently ripping the spines out of its kills, but unlike its drooling counterpart, there's a certain honor guiding the Predator's actions. This contrast was kicked into overdrive in 2004's silly space spin-off Alien vs. Predator, a crossover film that saw the masked warrior become an unlikely ally to a human as they work together to beat the chest-bursting threat. The film's final moments even feature a scene in which the movie's heroic predator, Scar, awards human hero Lex, played by Sanaa Lathan, a hunter's mark of her own, using xenomorph blood to burn it into her skin as a symbol of her bravery. It's enough to make us tear up. especially when Scar later sacrifices himself so that his new pal can escape safely. While the film divided fans, Alien vs. Predator actually impressed Aliens filmmaker James Cameron. In 2006, he rated it the third best of the 5 Alien sequels at the time. He told Ain't It Cool News, "I actually liked it. I actually liked it a lot."